What's up, twisted people? It's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson. I am here with the woman who made it possible because she made me possible, Karen Robinson, my mother. No relation to that new movie that's coming out called Karen. I don't know if anyone's seen that trailer.
Oh, no.
Deliciously horrible, but also maybe goodness in terms of a horror movie based on Karens. But yeah, so once again, thank you all who are joining us in the live chat. And those of you who are watching in the replay, it's always a pleasure to be talking all things horror, mysterious, supernatural with you. And in this particular case, the television show Charmed, when we're talking about the magic of Charmed or the darkness of Charmed. Hey, Lola, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Always a pleasure to have you here. So yeah, we're talking episode 15 of this episode of this season 3, Charm 2021. And so, you know, we're going to talk about our grade for this episode, the grade we would give this episode, our overall thoughts, and then, you know, the happenings. And then we're going to talk about ship talk, because we got to talk about ship talk. I love talking ship talk, and predictions and whatnot. So the question I want to ask all of you who are watching this in live chat and the replay is, what grade would you give episode 15? And think about that. And also, you know, the question for the whole episode is, what do you think the whispering evil is? What do you think its origin is? It seems to come from the Tomb of Chaos. We know that. But how do you think it comes about? You know, what are your predictions? What's your theories about how the whispering evil gets to our present / future? Lola in the chat is already letting us know that they give it an A. So they loved last week's episode. They felt like it was amazing. And so that's very awesome. It's always good when we enjoy the stuff we watch as opposed to hate watching. I've done that many a times for like the Vampire Diaries. So I'm glad to not be doing that for Charmed. But lady, let's start with you. What grade would you give this episode?
Well, I gave it a B+.
Okay. Why the B+?
I gave it a B+ because the way it started off, everything. It started off, you know, with Maggie touching things, trying to get a premonition of things, and then when she touched the picture of her and and Mel, it came in, and that's when she's, you know, it just wasn't. I didn't think it was that moving, like, you know, it wasn't. Well, it was like this. Like I said, let's put it this way. I gave it a B+. It was okay. I know what's the name say it was amazing, but I thought it was okay. But it was just okay.
So you felt like it was just okay.
It could have been a little better. I mean, it could have started off a little better.
Okay. What? So you were a little underwhelmed. It sounds like you were a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, because I'm really looking at this and I'm saying, okay. And then when they told them that when she said we have to go now, and they did all that, and then with Harry, I'm like, okay, this ain't making okay. It was exciting when they went back to the future. It's just, I would just say like a B+. It was okay. It wasn't that amazing.
Okay.
But, you know, because remember we was talking about the big bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was okay.
Okay. Blue Wolf, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Blue Wolf, you're saying, hey, Chauncey and Mama Robinson, how are you ladies doing this evening? We're doing good. Lola is saying this episode was giving me some OG Charmed vibes. Blue Wolf is also giving it an A-.
Yeah.
Edward, joining us in the chat, Edward is saying, hi to all. I gave this episode an A-. The episode had a lot of good moments, but there were things that made me say, hey, what the hey? All right, let us know, Edward. What made you say, hey, what the hey, as we go through the happenings? Because I had a few moments where I said, hey, what the hey, too. I had a few moments. Lola is saying, love seeing that Macy has her demon powers back. Well, technically she has it in the future, so we have to wonder when she gets those powers back. Exactly. That's also something to think about. Does it happen in the next 3 weeks? Is she getting her powers in the next 3 weeks of some sort? Not sure. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yes, that is.
So okay, so you're saying B plus, although I think you're being nice because it sounds like you were really underwhelmed. So I think your real grade might have been a B minus for this episode.
It was a B plus. I gave it a B plus, mostly because near the end of it with Mel and what's name, it came pretty good. And then when they all realizing, when Maggie was realizing, oh, about the big bad, when she said she remembered what the perfecti said.
Yeah,
but I don't think Macy is that big bad though.
Macy is not the big bad. I don't think we'll talk about it. The whispering evil seems to infect people. And Abby and future Abigail actually explains it. So we'll get to that to a second. Yeah. Macy isn't the big bad. It's whatever is infecting the sisters or whatever is infecting the planet at this time. Is it? Yeah. Lola is saying, I wonder why we didn't see Mel in the future. That's another thing.
She's missing,
Edward is saying biggest what the hey was the Mel and Ruby stuff, and Abby in the future who mentions Mel. Yeah. So yeah, we got to talk about that. Maybe in the ship talk a little bit, but also in the happenings. Hey, Damie is in the chat, and Damie is saying, I give it an A minus because of Harry this episode. Yes, we definitely got to talk about them. And Harry was so fun this episode. My grade for this episode, I'm going to give it a solid B. I feel like it's a solid B. There was a lot of things happening in this episode, a lot of happenings in the sense of action, like with Maggie and Mel. It was nice to see them team up and kind of having to deal with that stuff. And then with Celeste and Harry, and then we had Mel and Ruby. So there were, and it was all connected, and I things were happening. But the interesting thing is, it's always weird to me when we have episodes in any show when a lot of things happen or happening on screen, and then the only thing we really come out of it with is like one new piece of evidence or one new piece of thing for the story. I'm like, okay, all of that happened and we only found out this. And it kind of makes you think, okay, was this kind of a semi filler kind of thing? Because, and they do this sometimes in Charmed. I remember one episode, I can't remember particularly which one it was. It was a whole episode where what they were doing had really no connection to anything. And then at the end, they found the slab that was to the Tomb of Chaos. So it was like a whole episode of things happening. But the main thing that came out of the episode was the stone slab. So everything else was just kind of happening, and it didn't really move much of anything forward. And I felt like this episode was kind of on the borderline of that, where things were happening, but the only thing we got out of it was a few new pieces of information, even though so much went on in this episode physically. And that's why I give it a solid B, because I actually enjoyed a lot of the things that happened this episode. But at the same time, I'm like, this is episode 15 and like, I believe an 18 episode season. And it's like, okay, episode 15, and we're only still getting bits and pieces of things. And that's really not what it should be when you're almost halfway through a season, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I was on it. Lola is saying Harry was funny this episode. Damien is saying, is that Macy's dark side or is it the plague? I think it's the plague. I actually do think it's the plague. I think it's the whispering evil, Damien, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
Why does she sound like she's an insect?
Well, that's the whispering evil. It sounds like bugs. That's the sound.
Damn bugs.
Yeah. Melania is saying, I wish I'd see Mel Macy's teamwork. Enjoyed seeing Mel getting her tea light scene though. Yeah, but she did get a tea light scene. Lola saying, I really don't feel Ruby and Mel together as a couple. It's the writers included Ruby more in the show. I could see them as a couple. Blue Wolf is saying, at the very end, when Mel and Maggie went back to their respective time, you mean Macy and Maggie. It seemed like evil future version of Macy traveled to the past with them.
Yeah.
Maybe. Damien is saying, hi, Mom, to you, lady. Okay. All right, so I gave this a solid B. You gave it what you're claiming as a B plus, but I think I liked the episode better than you did. So I think
Yeah.
your grade is lower, your real grade. But
Okay, so you think I should do a B
I
minus?
think it's B minus. I think your real
Okay.
grade is B minus. My
Yeah,
grade is a
but
solid B
I
for
know
the
I gave it a
reasons.
B plus because I liked this Celeste and Harry when they was going through that thing, especially when he was a teenager and everything. And she said, "I know what I'm doing." Harry just sitting there looking at,
Yeah, no, there were some really solid.
moments there.
Yeah,
So
there
I
was some really
think it was
solid.
B plus.
Yeah, it was some solid moments aside from a few things, especially plot wise too. I had some issues with the plot of this, of how certain things were happening as well. That I mean, this is always what happens when it comes to time travel. Whatever show you get, no, I mean, most shows aren't the best when it comes to time travel because things get weird and you got to set up rules. And if you don't set up rules and it's kind of willy-nilly, I feel like it can get kind of loosey goosey when it comes to what's accepted and what can happen versus what can't. And I think that's another aspect of this that I was kind of like, I don't know, would that really be the case if this is, and we'll talk about that in the specific moments. Damien saying, yes, I love Harry and Celeste together. Yes, I did as well. All right, so let's get into what actually happened this episode, right? Some of the specifics. So we get what's going on. We get a very cute Mel scene where she is sitting trying to do some breathing and she's eating and she's pregnant and she's trying to deal with that. Trying to eat healthy, but she's eating that cheddar popcorn. Oh my gosh, cheddar popcorn.
I said,
I love cheddar popcorn. I know that's not healthy all the time.
That's not healthy. And wait, she had the fruit and stuff. What was that fruit and stuff next to it?
Yeah, she kept eating the popcorn. And then she had the nerve when Macy came in, was like, healthy foods only. I'm like, you've been chomping on that popcorn your whole session, but okay, healthy foods only, Mel.
She took the donut she was offering. You want a donut? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You go, you eat those potato chips.
Yeah. Hey, Zay, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Hey, everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you, Zay. So, we get the opening. So it kind of establishes what's going on with everyone. We get Mel with the pregnancy thing. We get Maggie trying to figure out, what's going on. She's trying to get a premonition from things and she can't figure out anything. And then we also have Harry and Macy having a very cute scene where they're running through the city and Harry's dealing with being human and how it's like, I have these cramps. I don't know what's going on, which is funny, and that was a very cute scene. And but then we find out that because he was exerting himself, that exertion could cause certain side effects, and one of the side effects was that the soul that he had taken a part of his great like grandson or whatever was kind of young, so he started regressing. And so what we have in this whole episode is kind of three main plots. Mel being very pregnant, she doesn't go into the future. She basically stays behind to help with anti-aging potion, and Ruby helps her throughout that. And then she has a whole thing about the pregnancy and what this means. And then we have Macy and Maggie going to the future because they decide they need to go to the future. And then we have Harry and Celeste, with Celeste trying to help Macy and Maggie, but also having to deal with the prepubescent and then adolescent Harry, which kind of gave us the three plot lines throughout that were very much connected. So, So Lola is saying in the chat, I'm wondering if future Macy realized she killed Abby or if she was just getting controlled by the monster and didn't know what was happening around her as she also tried killing her past self. I think, and we'll talk about that because I very much think it's the infection and not necessarily like, oh, I'm evil Macy now. It's more like I'm evil and I'm like probably mindless. Future zombie Macy, I think that's a very good example of a very good saying, Zay, because it seems like it's zombie Macy, was giving Jada vibes. Jada from season 1. No, was it season 1? Was Jada in season 1 or season 2? I feel like it was season 1. Yes, it was season 1. Yes, and we miss Jada very much. That was one of Mel's other girlfriends, the half white lighter, half witch. Ma, do you remember Jada?
I probably do.
Yeah. Okay, so we get these three ones. So let's tackle let's tackle the Harry comedy relief a little bit thing. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was cute. Him doing the toddler. I kind of liked it. Even I think him playing the adolescent teenager who's just kind of like whatever
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of the best part of him. Let us know in the live. Yeah, let us know in the live chat and also in the replay, y'all. What age of Harry did you guys get the most of a kick out of there? I'm curious. I like teenage Harry the best in terms of being kind of fun with it. And we kind of had also got a sort of not come to Jesus moment with him and Celeste, but sort of a thing where he calls out Celeste feeling like she has to do this to kind of atone for her own guilt of creating the White Lighters. And I, for one, also love that Celeste was around. I thought she was living with them now to help out Harry. And I kind of hoped for her staying around as the elder witch. And so I was a little sad to see her choose to go back to Greece. I was a little scared.
She said the stairs was getting to her.
Yeah.
She said she was aging, I think.
Well, she's her age. She's her old age. So she has asthma. So I was a little worried when she started to cough because I was like, no, do not just bring Celeste back to kill her off. Can you not do that? We like Celeste. She is one of my favorite characters. But I like that dynamic between them. I like that she was there to give them advice and stuff like that. And I think it was a little weird that they kind of had got rid of her at the end of this episode.
Back. That's what I'm saying. She should have stayed, especially when they came back. And didn't she want to know what they saw and how to help and how to solve?
Yeah, it was just a little weird. It was kind of like there's a lot going on. There's supposed to be something that happens in 3 weeks. And then Celeste is going back to Greece. And I'm just like, shouldn't Celeste stay around to like help them figure this out? The end of the world might be happening in less than a month. Why is she going back to Greece right now? I mean, her whole thing wasn't just to be there to help Harry, I had hoped, but seemingly that seems to be the main reason why she was there, as though the potential end of the world wasn't happening, which was kind of weird. But maybe she also just believes the charmed ones can handle it. But I feel like all hands on deck is probably better than just leaving it to the three of them, But I did like that plot line. I liked her and Harry's dynamic. It was kind of like him having a mother figure around, which was very nice to see. Blue Wolf is saying, I'm glad we were able to see the earbuds again and it wasn't just a one shot. Yeah, I like the callbacks to past spells and stuff. That earbug thing was very cool and it was good that they brought that back. So that was pretty cool to see. Blue Wolf is saying, was it really ethical for Harry to take somebody else's soul? Well, I don't think he took it was his great grandson, I think, right? I don't think it was was it his great? I feel like it was his great grandson or it was his grandson, really. I think it was his grandson. It wasn't even great, it was his grandson. But I don't think he didn't take the whole soul. He just took a part of it or the essence of it so that he could complete the spell. I think another question to ask is it okay to trust a spell that the Perfecti gave him? Because, it was the Perfecti that gave him the way this spell was supposed to be. And it seems, and I know Celeste is also like okay with the spell, but it's kind of weird that we got this thing where, I don't know, can you trust the Perfecti after everything that they were doing to give a true spell like that? And we also know the allergy thing had its own side effects. So they're kind of batting 2 for 0 in terms of really good, actually helpful spells to help any of them out with their problems, but he's still going through with it, so that's questionable. Damie is saying, when I saw the monster's braids come to light, I thought it was Jada, and then it was Macy's face, and I was shocked. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second about it being possessed Macy. Yes, Edward, I agree. Teen Harry was the best for me. Damien is saying, I love seeing Celeste is comfy in their house. Yeah, I thought she was going to stick around, and it's kind of weird that she didn't. I think they need that, honestly. I didn't like the whole bureaucracy of the elders, the regular elders, but I do still think the girls need that kind of character around for them. What do you think, Ma?
They need somebody, because I swear I never see them go back into that tree and talk to that guardian.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, it
mean,
seems like the Guardian just disappeared.
yeah, and then wouldn't that affect everything too? I mean, if the Guardian's there, wouldn't they know everything about everything too?
Yeah, I mean,
It's,
I don't know. Was the
you know,
Guardian did it get messed up when that black ink had taken over? Were they? I
but
thought they were
when
able
they
to
restored,
restore it.
yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they restored it, and then after that, you never saw them go back in there, never try to ask questions. You just go, okay, they just took that away.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird. And then it's like they only use Celeste for the Harry plot line when I'm like, she's literally an elder witch. She could help out with so much more than that. She knows a lot of stuff. Why isn't she helping them out with the allergy?
I don't
It's
get
just
it.
yeah, it's a little weird. But I did like that dynamic. I liked how they played into the plot line, Harry and Celeste. And it was good that Celeste was also saying, like, I need to let you do your thing. And also I'm, at my age, I want to live my life. So, you know, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
Liliana, thanks for joining us in the chat. Liliana saying, I love Celeste, but realistically, I don't expect them to want to hire more characters than they need. That's very true. That is also an aspect of that, to have a reoccurring person there, that might be a lot of money, so they can only pay them for but so much. Damien saying, I like both, but childlike Harry cracked me up more than teen Harry. I don't know how they all kept a straight face while shooting that. Yeah, I'd love to see the outtakes of that, of him playing the toddler and things like that, and them all probably laughing and whatnot. So what we got from the end of that kind of mini plot line or subplot was the fact that Celeste has gone, and but she's gonna be there on call when they need her. So that's what we got. And that she's gonna let Harry make his own mistakes. And Harry seems to be moving along on the turning human type thing. So we'll see where that eventually
but
goes.
he
Seems to
still
be
got
taking
some
a
of his
while.
powers,
He
right?
still has some of his powers, but they're kind of on the blitz. So we'll see how long they last. Okay, so then we have Macy and Maggie in the future. So Maggie basically, gets the premonition. She's like, we got to go to the future right now. Now, I kind of had an issue with the fact that she was ready to rush into the future and be like, we have to stop all of it. And yes, they did think of everything like, oh, we're not going to have our powers. We're going to have this spell and all this other things. But I also just kind of felt like, I kind of just felt like, why? I mean, it's the future. You can always go there. And yeah, you need to know what happens, but it didn't seem like they had much of a plan. And if the plan was kind of like, okay, let's see what's going on here, I felt like once they talked to Abigail, they should have went back home, but then all that running and stuff happened, so they couldn't. But it was kind of like, I don't know, I just felt like they have a tendency to do that sometimes. They kind of rush into things. They kind of rush into some things, and then they're super hesitant on things they should be rushing into. And I felt like this whole going to the future thing were kind of, well, we just got to figure out what happened, was probably could have dealt with a little bit more planning on their end, but they did seem to think of other stuff. So it wasn't horrible.
But when she made the board smaller, after she did that, they all but they all should have left. But then well, I can understand why they couldn't leave the watch.
Yeah.
The watch got cracked and whatever.
Yeah, Jaylee is saying they really didn't have a plan. They jumped right in. Exactly. Damien saying, I love the time travel on the show. I like the time travel too. I just wonder, how that's gonna work in terms, I mean, the way it worked in the episode was kind of cheesy, and I got some questions for that, but it was a cute kind of thing that they did. Lola saying, did you see the Prism of Souls in the attic in the future? I didn't notice that. Did you see it, Mom? Prism of Souls?
Oh,
I didn't see it.
Where was the attic at?
The attic in the house. When they went up there to go get the look at the board. I didn't notice it. I wasn't looking for it, but
board. I ain't noticed the prism. But maybe see, I love how some people just take that in, they look at everything.
Yeah, it's good. Notices things that we always don't. Damien saying, I wanted to talk to Macy. Macy's busy. I just love Celeste's response. Yeah, Celeste and Macy's response, because it was so funny because Macy's in the future dealing with this, and then Harry gets on the thing and she's like, Harry, listen to Celeste, and Maggie's like, for real, seriously, this is what we're doing right now.
Because he told him not to take the earbuds, but he did.
Yeah. So that was kind of going on, and which was kind of a cute moment. But then we see future Abigail, which she had a kind of a spell thing in there to kind of, I guess, notify her of intruders. So she went to safe space. And we see that basically it's kind of the end of the world. It's kind of a ghost town there where they are. And future Abigail explains to them, one, that Maggie is dead in the future, that future Abigail had to kill her because Maggie had got possessed by what Mel calls the whispering evil, which is that bug-like thing.
Because I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Very eerie with the bugs. And that basically Abigail was part of a defense team that was helping to protect Mel while she was trying to figure out what was going on with and Abigail pretty much explains that a plague kind of just affected everyone, called the whispering evil, and it affected people, and it brings out the worst parts of them and controls them and brings out the worst parts of them, and it infects different people. So Maggie had gotten infected, and we later find out that Macy in that future 5 years from now is infected as well. It seems like the only person that didn't get infected seemingly was Mel, or future Mel, and future Mel disappeared, and Abigail hasn't seen her since. So
but okay, what I was trying to do with Abigail, now she came in like a, you know how she used her power to puff in there?
Yeah.
Hopefully she just puffed them out.
Abigail?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was the thing. There was a few weird moments in that main plot line, right? Where it was like Abigail comes in there, she's fighting them, she comes in with the smoke, and then, she's like, oh my gosh, you guys go right. You got, like, why couldn't she take them with her? But I don't know. Can she do that with other people, or can she only do that with herself?
I don't know, but I said they did that backwards. Here she goes straight to the thing. She could have disappeared before the other thing killed her.
That was the thing too. I felt like it was done for dramatic effect to have it so that whispering evil Macy killed Abigail. Because Abigail's like, don't do this. But it's like, Abigail, you have demon powers. Why are you so easily killed by fire?
I said, wait a minute, that was too. And then you stood there instead of disappearing?
Yeah, it was just kind of weird. I mean, I was like, you lasted 5 years. You defended Mel from an onslaught of whispering evil attacks, and then you die right there. It just didn't line up to me. I just felt like it didn't line up. I felt like it was more so done for dramatic effect to show you that this is serious business and people are dying. And Abigail was the one to get killed to kind of show that, but it didn't make as much sense.
It didn't. Because I'm trying to figure, I said, wait a minute. She popped in there and she told them to hide because they have their powers. She walked to the door and then she's going to tell you can't do I would have just disappeared and pop out where they was and take them with me. I mean, do something.
Yeah, Edward is saying it also looked like evil Macy had her demon powers, and Damien points this out too. And why was she Abigail holding a gun thing or the crossbow when she has fire powers? Well, see, this is the thing, and I think this actually connects to Edward thing. It seems like Macy, at least future Macy, has her demon powers back somehow. It didn't look like Abigail had those kind of powers, although Abigail clearly still could come in and out with smoke. It didn't seem like she had her fire power. So it looks like Macy, somewhere along the line, maybe it's in these next future 3 weeks or whatever, gets her demon powers back.
Yeah, but remember when Abigail told her, I will somehow get you back your demon powers.
Yeah, so maybe Abigail made good on her promise and ended up getting Macy back her powers. I don't know if it's connected to Macy becoming possessed, but it seems like somehow Abigail was able to give Macy back her powers. Not sure when it happens, but possessed Macy seems to have powers, or her demon powers again. And so what we also find out from Abigail is that all of this, well, we don't find out from Abigail per se. We find it out once they get to the attic and they look at Mel's like research board, that all of this starts to happen 3 weeks from their present time. Yeah. So we got less than a month before the whispering evil comes back. And we also know that the symbol is a symbol from the Tomb of Chaos. And then we get the flashback where Maggie remembers what the Perfecti told her, that there's something much evil. Don't do this. You need our help. And so what did you think of that? Because there's a few holes in this for me, I think, that I'm a little, okay, so we know that there's a symbol from the Tomb of Chaos. So whatever was in the Tomb of Chaos somehow got out, and maybe it's not showing its face until a future episode, of course, right? But somehow the Perfecti knew about it. I don't know why, and when the Perfecti found out, why they wouldn't do something about it before any of this happened.
Before they try to kill the charm, or to try to make them
before they went into the tomb and all, before all that drama happened with the Perfecti. If the Perfecti knew that this thing was out there, why didn't they do the thing and get rid of it? The other question is, what happens in the 5 years that the Perfecti aren't used? You know, like, okay, let's say they find out that the whispering evil is a thing 3 weeks from the present time. And maybe they figure out the only way we're going to be able to get rid of this is if we get the Perfecti. The Perfecti can help us.
Yeah, see, that's
so are we to believe that in the 5 years of chaos and the end of the world that they never decided to get the Perfecti to help them? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I guess it's the same way that they never get anybody to help them with stuff because they never seem to get help from their own community. And so maybe we're just supposed to believe that they didn't want to risk getting the Perfecti to help them. But at the point where the world is going to crap and the most powerful other beings are the Perfecti, how in the whole 5 years did they not decide to use them? You know, so to the point where they got to this point.
Because Abigail said it's affecting everything. It was killing the demons and the witches, and everything magical too.
Yes, like it was infecting everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, but okay, in order to do that, I mean, like I said, it just left some holes open. It just made you okay. But who else was fighting? It was just her. There had to be another army there. It wasn't just
with Abigail. Well, yeah. Abigail points out that she and her whole people. So there's a group of them somewhere. Abigail must have just got killed. Lola is pointing out, I'm wondering how this monster escaped. I think the question is, it's clear that the monster was already out. And that's why I'm wondering why the Perfecti didn't take care of them.
The first one that came out.
Remember? Well, I thought we found out who the first one was. It was that love thing, obsessive love person, narcissist, or whatever it was. Yeah. Blue Wolf. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it was the Whispering Evil, but why wait till now? You know, why the wait to suddenly make themselves like saying stuff? You know, I guess that's my question about it. And maybe they'll explain this. I'm just saying what came to me in terms of potential plot holes or things just not adding up as well. Blue Wolf is saying, it's like you said, the Whispering Evil brings out the worst in people. And that's probably how Macy got her firepower back. Macy always going to have her demonic essence. In a way, although I wonder, and you might be right, Blue Wolf, and let us know in the chat and also in the replay, y'all. I also wonder, like, when Macy gave up her demon powers, wasn't that the writers kind of writing off that's part of her? But if you're saying that she always has demon, does that mean Macy always will have demon powers or not? And I felt like, I believe that's the case. I actually do believe that. But I feel like the writers were kind of going with the whole, now she's just a full witch because she got rid of her demon self by getting rid of her powers. So I don't know. I feel like the writers kind of have to make that a little bit clearer there, because I don't think they make it as clear when it comes to it. Because the way they kind of got rid of her powers made it seem like, okay, because she could start touching the books again. Remember when she got rid of her demon power, she could touch the book because she was no longer half demon. But if we're saying that even without her power, she still have demon, why is she able to touch the books? You Because wasn't the books made so that a demon couldn't touch him?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that'd be my question on that. Not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm just confused. I don't think they made it very clear. Damien is saying they might release the Perfecti to get rid of the monster and lock them up again. They might, but my question is, Damien, why have they seemingly waited 5 years to do it? Because it looks like in the future they never did it, right? Mm-hmm. Liliana is saying it did feel like the writers. It felt like the writers were writing off the demon side of Macy, but I always felt like she was always part demon because of how the demon blood was the reason she's even alive. Exactly. Zay is saying, is Macy not a demon anymore? Does she have demon essence? It depends on the plot. Very much so, Zay. It seems to depend on the plot. And that's my issue with that whole plot line, that it seems to depend on the plot. Because the only way she's able to touch those magical books, right, or the main magical book, was because she was no longer part demon. And she was able to touch it. So I don't know. Maybe it meant like active part demon. I don't know. Maybe because she's dormant. I don't get it. Damien is saying they got rid of it. So yeah. Liliana is also pointing out, but there's been continuity issues since season 2. Yes, there has been. Okay, so we basically get that there's a whispering evil. A whole lot of hijinks happen, and this is what I mean by like a lot of stuff happened, but not a lot of stuff happened, because the hijinks was they find out that in this future part, Maggie's dead and Macy is now possessed and Mel has disappeared. So the power of 3 is like null and void right now. Although they do find a picture that says family is forever. And so they're running around, and eventually we get Harry to help them out by placing the new watch in a place that somehow got to stay up in the midst of 5 years. Like in the midst of the world going to crap, none of these buildings or nothing was changed, so that they were able to find a thing that was placed there 5 years ago. Not sure that's how that works. It seems a little far-fetched to me that they were able to do that, but I guess that's the most basic thing of time travel. Just the idea of like, no one will touch this in 5 years behind this random wall. We have to just believe that the malls and stuff somehow stay standing in the midst of an apocalypse. And no one actually tending to these buildings. Cool. All right, sure. And even he scrapes it and somehow the scrape still stays there. I'm like, wow, this is real basic time travel rules here. But yeah, so that happens, and they're able to go back, and they're old, which was a cute moment. I thought it was cute to see them old, and they get the spell jar thing from Mel and Ruby. So overall, when it comes to this play, and let us know in the chat and also in the replay, y'all, what do y'all think of this whole thing with the whispering evil? This seemingly seems to be the big bad of the season. And right now, I do think it feels creepy, but I'm not really convinced.
This is the big one?
Not that it's the big one. I think it is. I'm just not convinced that this should have been the big bad of it. I mean, I guess they're making it so like this is a plague, right? They made it so a plague is infecting people, which kind of harkens back to the real world stuff. So okay, I guess, but why so late in the season for this?
Yeah. But I think like when they were showing the board that Mel was working on a cure for, like it sounded like a vaccination or whatever. So what I didn't get was when Ruby was helping her because they had to make a lot of the potion.
Yeah.
So she took a sip of something to make her move.
Well, we didn't get there yet. I'm talking about I'm talking about the future stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, what do you think of that plot line of this thing of the whispering evil and stuff? Do you think it's worthy of a big bad of the season? This whole thing of something infecting people.
If they do it right, if they go on that route, just make sure you bring it right and make sure that we can go, okay, now we know why she why she turned that way, and why she's got the evil, the power.
Mm-hmm.
They just gotta show that if they can bring all that together, because that would be good. Like I said, it was good, but like I said, it was a B+. It's just some things that just didn't make sense, especially with Abigail. She popped in, and then you're the only one that popped in, and there's nobody else behind you. Where's the other guys?
I guess she just rode there herself, and then somehow she didn't call for backup. There's just a lot of There's just a lot of things going on with it. That's just kind of like, in a way, I almost kind of wish it was the Perfecti that were the big bad, because at least there was a build up to that with them, that they would turn the way they were. I didn't think they were the best big bad. I even would have hoped it was Fenric. Remember last live stream, y'all, we were all talking about maybe it was Fenric in the future that he gets out and he causes a whole bunch of stuff, but seemingly it's not Fenric. And I think that's a waste opportunity. And so this whispering evil thing, as Lola is also pointing out in the chat, it felt kind of like a sudden storyline. Like there was no buildup. And usually when you have a big bad, there's a little bit of a buildup to it. Now, one could argue that the buildup was the Tomb of Chaos, that clearly some ancient evil would come out of the Tomb of Chaos eventually. But there was nothing in the middle of that. The Perfecti were that. So, this whole idea of a plague, which I think, maybe they just did this to connect to the present and stuff. I'm like, okay, I guess, but I'm also kind of like, all right. I mean, I guess it would more so, I think it'll be compelling to me to see how things are affected. I think that will make it so it will convince me whether or not this was the plot line they should go with for this season in a way. Now, Tony is saying new show writers beginning as season 2 suck. I will not say yay or nay either way. I just, I'm a reviewer and I'm looking at it and I'm just saying, some things are adding up, but I have liked some stuff. So not completely bad for me, Tony, but I understand the frustration. Edward is saying it feels like the start of a big cliffhanger season ending to who may be revealed to be the big bad. You might be right there. Like maybe, because I will point out that the board that they got in the attic, as Macy pointed out, Macy said about Mel, she was like, it doesn't seem like she was trying to find a cure. It was seeming like she was trying to figure out some type of conspiracy or something. So there may be something deeper going on here. And I think that's the key for me that will make or break whether or not I think this was a good route to go for them. If there's some deeper story going on, if there's some kind of like, bigger conspiracy, magical plot happening that gets revealed, like you said, Edward, with a cliffhanger, I think I would like that. Now, if this is just some simple, this is one of the monsters that got out and this monster is just really bad and that just causes infection, I'm going to be like, that's kind of short-sighted and not as deep for a big bad of a season. I feel like that's more of a one-off episode rather than a whole season big bad. So Blue Wolf is saying we need the original show writers from season 1 to make it make sense. Jordan is saying I think the whispering evil is the bones they dug up when they were sleepwalking earlier this season. Now that, Jordan, would be so awesome. I would actually be, because weren't we all wondering? Remember, I think we brought it up, like who were the bones? Who possessed them, right? I don't think it was the Perfecti, right? It doesn't seem like it was the Perfecti that made them do it. The Perfecti didn't suddenly get them to be possessed, right? It was something with, a whole thing, they were being possessed and sleepwalking, and they brought up the bones and everything. So what was it that made them get the set them on this whole journey of the Tomb of Chaos? Was it the Perfecti or was it someone else? Because the Perfecti never said it was us that possessed you to find the slab and all that. So what made them go on this journey? Yeah. Liliana is saying, I agree with Moma. It sounds like it could be good if they tie it all up. I can't really give an opinion because I haven't been watching. Liliana is saying, ending seasons and cliffhangers are so agonizing. They very much are. Zay is saying, what if the plague was caused by the Charmed Ones? What if that time when they used their blood to resurrect someone was the plague starting and not just the tomb? Yeah, maybe that's what started this. The question is, because, I think once we get a chance to look at future Mel's board, maybe some more stuff will come up. Now, if this is some big conspiracy theory, I will love that. I always love peeling back conspiracies and thoughts and what things that connect. So if they are able to pull that off, I will be very impressed. The issue is the writing thus far has been kind of short-sighted. So I kind of worry that they may not be able to pull that off and it may end up short-sighted, but maybe, I'm okay to be, I'd be pleasantly surprised if that was the thing and it was something a little bit more. So, okay, so we got this thing. We realized that there's some whispering evil. We also got a look of someone standing on a roof that sounded like the whispering evil. So maybe that's patient zero, as what was pointed out on Mel's thing. But let us know in the chat, y'all, and also in the replay, what are your theories? You know, do you think this is I want to know, do you think this is some bigger conspiracy theory that we will get some really deep, well thought out plot? Or do you think this will turn into kind of a short-sighted deal when it comes to them kind of picking something and that's what we're going with? Let us know. I'm curious.
That is not right.
What if it was short-sighted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope if they've been building this up that there's some deeper thing going on with everything. I would love that because it would show that they really planned getting to this point, which would be really cool. So I would definitely love that. But also what I would love, you all, is if you give this video a like or a thumbs up, which is the same thing as a like, I would really appreciate that. We would appreciate it because the YouTube algorithm must be fed. And the way you feed the YouTube algorithm monster is by feeding it with engagement. So give it a like, put it at the altar of the YouTube algorithm, y'all. Give it a like, share the video as well. And also, you know, once the live chat is over, and for those of you in the replay already, please do comment under the video because it always helps to spread the charmed love to others to check out what's going on here. Damien saying no cliffhanger ending for this season. They should tie it up in this season.
No, we're going to get a cliffhanger watch.
Lola is saying, I don't think they will tie it up this season. So that's the other question, y'all. Do y'all let us know in the comment section. Do you think we're going to end this season with a cliffhanger? We only have a few more episodes left. They seem to already be introducing something else completely. Do you think we're tying up this season, or you think we're going to flow into season 4 with a cliffhanger?
I think we're going to go into a cliffhanger. Like, they're going to just hang. They're going to hang us right there. We're going to go, really? And then we have to make a return.
Yeah, that seems to be, especially with a shortened season.
I really hate that when they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Blue Wolf. Yes, listen to Blue Wolf, y'all. Please hit the like button. We always appreciate it. Edward is saying yes, the cliffhanger. Yeah. So let us know. I'm curious, y'all. I am leaning towards it being a cliffhanger. I do not see them tying this up. They just now are introducing this thing about the whispering evil. There's a whole conspiracy theory board that Mel's got going on. I don't see them tying that up in the next 3 to 4 episodes, which I think is what we have left. So I don't see that being the case. All right, so let's get to, and we'll talk about anything we might have missed in this. But let's get to Mel's situation. So Mel is stayed behind because she was like, you know, future Mel gave me this baby. She probably doesn't want me to take it back in the future just yet because I'm supposed to keep it safe here. And so, then Mel disappears. And so we know that future Mel disappears. We don't know, maybe future Mel might have gone to the future to somehow, you know, I don't know, warn that Mel or give her baby. I don't know. We don't know yet. So many things up in the air. So basically this kind of ties in the ship talk a little bit because, well, I guess the plot line structure of this one was that Mel wasn't sure what was going to go on with the baby. She was like, I could be having this in 5 years. I could be having this tomorrow for all I know. And so she's kind of freaked out about that, and Ruby helps her. Plot line wise, and because I want to kind of separate this out from the ship talk, because I got some things to say on the ship talk with this whole situation. But plot line wise, she's moving a little slow with it. So she's like, I am trying to move fast. Ruby decides, because suddenly we get a character switch, she's going to do magic for Mel. And so she does the magic. She kind of passes out. Mel saves her. So we get a lot going on with them. But yeah, we get a lot going on with them. And they do the stuff. And so they're able to give the girls the potion, which was pretty much all Mel did this episode. She basically freaked out about the kid, and then
but not really, because then you hit the way Ruby was asking her, was she in that future with her?
Yeah, and that was another thing. Mel didn't seem to be able to answer her. So I don't know if that's because Mel actually knows something or if she just didn't want to answer. Let's talk about that in ship talk a little bit, y'all. Jordan is saying, I think the Guardian could be part of the ancient charmed ones that are trapped in the tomb and could be the bone they resurrected and wants the tomb open to get her sisters. Maybe, but we haven't seen them in a while. Damien is saying, I don't want a cliffhanger. I don't know how long we have to wait till season 4 premieres. So that was kind of Mel's thing. But like I said, things happened in this episode, but not a lot happened. The main thing we came out with this episode was all of this starts to pop off in 3 weeks' time from the present. The Whispering Evil is going on. Future Mel is basically MIA. Future Abigail is now dead. Future Maggie is now dead. And Macy is possessed. We have no idea where Jordan is or any of our other reoccurring characters that we know. So it's all kind of up in the air.
And where is in the future? Where is Harry?
Exactly. That also wasn't answered. We have no idea where Harry is as well. Nothing was really answered. Lola saying, I'm wondering how Mel got pregnant to begin with. I'm wondering if it's a spell or something. Jordan is saying, and the Guardian could be the empath of her charmed ones, and that's how she infects people, talking about a theory that Jordan has. It's So I gave this episode a B, but the main thing, the reason why we're going to have to go straight into ship talk, yeah, is because the subplot, one of the main subplots was a ship deal. Before we get to that, though, I'll give a quick one for Harry and Macy, because I got to talk about my Hasty. They were very cute this episode. I love that they were doing something like running and stuff. That was awesome. I love to see them. And I love that dynamic. We need more of that. We need more moments of them doing things and things like that happening. And so I would like to see more interaction. I love Macy responding to adolescent Harry and just like what is wrong with him? Like, I love that. I love that dynamic between them. And I want more of that for their writing, as opposed to, I also love this episode that we didn't get I don't know if they finally realized it when they got to this episode from the previous episodes. I love that they let Macy be more of the Macy that we've known to come to love. She was more of her quirky self. She was more of her, we got to figure this out. Oh my gosh, the bug things totally work. I loved all of this. I loved Macy this episode. She even seemed shocked that she was the one that killed Abigail, which was kind of funny. She seemed like she was a little hurt that she was like, I killed Abigail. It was kind of funny they had her say that. But I loved Macy this episode. The chocolate croissants was an awesome thing. I thought that was also great. And yes, we do love Hasty. Hi, Jackson. Thanks for joining us. Edward, yes, Mama Macy talking to Harry. I loved all of that. It was such a cute moment. And I think this is why I fell in love with the Hasty dynamic. There was something so cute and quirky about them in the midst of everything, because Macy is cute and quirky. Well, she's beautiful, but she has a cute and quirky thing going on, and Harry's a nerd too. And so having that kind of dynamic with them really just makes them so endearing. And I felt like maybe because everything else that was going on with them, that fun, or not just the fun, but like that air of like that uniqueness that they have, that dynamic was kind of missing in some of these episodes, because Macy was put in such a headspace of being just so irritable and mad about everything consistently. So I'm glad they allowed her to be a little bit more of the Macy that we've all come to know and love. A little bit more of the Macy from season 1, I would argue, but a little bit more of that Macy, because I think that she's great when she's allowed to be that way. Lola saying, Hasty is adorable. I have a feeling we will be getting a wedding in season 4. One can hope. And Damien saying, I like when Hasty are also friends and not just passionate lovers. My Hasty. We agree, Damien. We agree. All right. So that was the main thing. We didn't get Jordan this episode. Hopefully he'll be back very soon. So we can't talk about Maggie and Jordan, which is another ship.
Next episode.
Yeah, one. I think he is. I think I saw the preview for the next one.
He's in the next episode.
Okay, so and let me know, y'all. For those of you who are hasty shippers or not even hasty shippers, what did you think of their dynamic this episode? I loved it a lot more than some of the other stuff we have been getting for them in some of the recent episodes. So I really enjoyed I love their I felt like this was back to basics with them of their original dynamic, and I love that. So I was happy to see it. Okay, so the main ship that we got this episode was Mel and
Ruby.
Yeah, Mel and Ruby. So Ruby is there and she's telling Mel, you're not doing this alone. I'm here for you. And this was a question I posed last stream with you all, where I was like, do y'all think that Ruby's going to be okay with this pregnancy? Do you think she's going to be gung-ho and all this other stuff? And, some of y'all were like, yeah, I think she's going to be fine with it. I was more so saying that if they fit with the way they presented this character, she shouldn't be fine with it. But to me, it would seem, they came out very lovey-dovey this episode, right? They had their starlight scene, Ruby saying you're not in this by yourself. She's really wondering if her and Mel are going to be together in the future. Mel's not really answering her.
Because she's not,
Because we don't know. We don't know if Mel actually knows something or if she's just kind of like, I don't want to, say anything because I don't know if you want to stick around for this. And then Ruby does magic too. She gets some magic spell from her mom. We got a little bit more of her dynamic with her mom, of how her mom was a single mother, which was nice to hear. What did you think of because I got some things to say, but I want to hear what you have to say first, lady. What did you think of the Mel and Ruby scenes and subplot? And do you think that Mel is hiding something from Ruby when it comes to the future?
I think she is hiding something from her in the future, but because when she kept asking her, she said, well, Mel, are we together? And then she's not saying nothing. She just, just kept making that little face. But now, what was that question again?
Did you like their scenes? Like, what do you think of them as a ship?
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing Ruby run, seeing them drinking that potion, then running around doing everything fast. And, she's trying to let Mel know that, I said that's the longest they had them together.
Yeah. And now they can touch. That was another thing that came out of this.
That's what
probably because of
touching, because they ended up making, I don't know.
Maybe because of Mel's pregnant. I think it's Mel's pregnancy. I think whatever's growing. Because I think, and this was something that was an OG charm too, right? I think wasn't when one of them was pregnant, she was able to she had some extra powers, and it was the powers of the baby or something.
Yeah, that was was it with Wyatt or was it with Chris?
Someone was pregnant and the powers were manifesting.
Piper that got pregnant.
Piper.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like maybe that's something to do with Mel too, that the pregnancy is making it so that the allergy doesn't work on her. Mm-hmm. And like Mel said to the sisters, she was like, maybe this pregnancy is a way for us to be able to cure the allergy somehow.
And I was thinking that way. I said, maybe. But when they was touching, I said, oh, they touching.
Yeah. Liliana is saying, I think we don't even know Ruby enough to know what's accurate or not, and dislike how we're expected to just be okay with what feels like sudden changes during episodes. And yeah, this is you make a very good point, Liliana, and this is what my main issue with their dynamic has been. When we first got Ruby and Mel, we got some tension there, right? It was like Ruby was saying, I'm not sure I'm okay with magic. And you kind of thought maybe that's going to be their plot line, the fact that Mel's going to be doing magic. Ruby's going to feel some issues with it. And there's going to be some tension with that with them. And at least, if nothing else, that would be some kind of plot line for their relationship to grow and have drama, have a story. And then all of that just seemingly goes out the window. Like suddenly Ruby's like, well, when you find the right person that you love, all of that changes. And, that's why you want to do magic again. I just thought, I was like, have they turned this character into a Mary Sue? Pretty much everything that Mel would want in a relationship to somehow appease those who want Mel to have an on-screen relationship. And I kind of got those vibes. I kind of got the vibes that they're making Ruby so perfect for Mel that it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of telling those who have been asking for a better romance plot and actual development for Mel. I feel like it's their way of saying, look, we're giving you her perfect match. You can't complain about this. You can't complain that we're basically just, putting her with someone you hardly know, and suddenly they're the perfect couple and they're so in love, because Ruby is exactly the kind of partner that Mel needs. It's kind of like they changed her character, at least from what we initially knew, to make her perfect for Mel, so that if you were to not want her with Mel, it would argue that you don't want Mel to have a healthy relationship. But I think in a way that's kind of, first of all, that's just not good storytelling, period. No one watches a show for everyone to be perfect and in great condition already. That's the end of
a flaw somewhere.
Yes, there should be flaw, because in order to have a story, you need conflict. Now, you don't need constant drama. I don't need constant love triangles and obstacles constantly, but there needs to be a dynamic going on there that gives them something to do for themselves in the relationship. We kind of have that with Hasty, right? The whole thing of Harry wanting to be human and Macy trying to deal with that and that dynamic. Maggie and Jordan's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, she was, pushing him away. He eventually leaves. That's their drama. With Mel and Ruby, we had none of that, except when Abigail kind of entered the picture and Ruby was kind of jealous. And now we're just having this thing of Mel's pregnant and Ruby's like, I'm happy with this. This is great. I don't know what Ruby's a bartender. I know that's what she does. She's a sports fan. I mean, we don't know her viewpoint on kids. She seemingly is just cool with all of this. And I just feel like it's a little shoehorned in. I don't know what the end game of the writers are. I don't know if they're doing this to just basically be like, this is Mel's romance plot line. Get used to it. Nothing else is happening for her. We're just going to put her with Ruby and make them a great couple. And that's that. We're not going to show any growth in this. We're going to put them in this relationship.
Okay, so but remember that. Okay, so who future? Okay, when Mel went to the future, they saw her headstone.
Yeah, and that was Ruby there, and she was with her grandchild.
Right, and so I'm just not catching that.
Well, that future never happened. That never happened, because clearly Mel didn't die. So that future, just like Mel pointed out this episode, she was like, listen, when I first went to the future, I saw my headstone. That didn't happen. So they changed the future. This is the new future. And so it's a whole new thing.
I said, yeah.
Lola is saying the writers need to include Ruby more if they want us to believe Mel and Ruby are together. Yeah. Jordan is saying, love seeing Ruby using magic this episode. Damien saying, how are Mel and Ruby able to touch, but the sisters still have the allergy? I think that has to do with Mel's pregnancy. Liliana is saying, issue for me is how when we first were introduced to Ruby, she was very anti-magic. Jordan is saying the sisters could touch in the future, which is interesting. Well, I think before the future, then that was because in the future, they didn't have any magic, and magic is what's making them allergic to each other. So Liliana saying, post Abigail, who was all gung-ho for being all about magic leadership. Liliana's comparing. I'm just going through the things of what y'all are saying, because I was talking a little bit about that. So Edward is saying the big bad, it was Ruby all along. Maybe. Yeah. Liliana is saying it feels like they have, Chauncey, and thank you for voicing it. I've seen lots of fans who point that out. So nice, not so nice names. I have some issues. Who point that out and get called names. Yeah, I mean, there's a weird dynamic with this, right? Because I think also what's going on, just get a little deeper with you all on this. It's what's going on is that there's the issue of some people don't like Abigail. So the other issue of that is people don't want, if the people don't like Abigail, if you got people who really don't like Abigail, they're not going to be okay with the idea of Mel going with Abigail over Ruby. Even if Ruby isn't necessarily the more interesting choice, there's kind of this thing of they definitely don't want more Abigail. So, and they see that being more of that. So they're just not okay with that. And I think there's a little bit, and I've seen it online, I feel like there's a little bit of a racial aspect with it too, because just a little bit, not exactly. I do think, and I think this comes with the thing of how you have three women of color leads. And there's been a little bit of people having issue with the fact that they have felt that Abigail gets too much screen time in comparison. Although, I think it was you, Liliana, that actually pointed out in one of the comment sections of previous stream that that's actually not the case. Someone on Tumblr, I think, put together all the minutes of how long people are on screen, and Abigail was not eclipsing any of the main characters. Not even Harry. It was her and Jordan were pretty much tied for minutes on screen. So we know, like, actual data shows that Abigail is not getting more screen time and focus than the charm ones. But I do think there's a little bit of a dynamic of feeling like, you know, we have these characters of color and they kind of get a back seat to this character who is not of color. And I think that's playing a little bit into maybe the thing with Ruby for some people. Maybe a little bit. I've seen it. I've seen that a little bit. Although I do think those who, but I also just feel like a little bit of the Abigail dislike is what's fueling it a little bit more at times. But I can see it from all sides. I understand it. It's not a black and white situation in the sense of the way this really is. So I get why people are frustrated. To me, I'm just going by the storyline. And my honest opinion is I just don't think Mel and Ruby, for Mel to have a dynamic romance plot like the other two girls have, I just don't think Ruby's that character for her. They've made her so perfect for Mel that it's very, very much like they're just making it so this is her thing. We're not going to do anything with this. And that's her person, y'all. So just get used to it. And I just think that's really shortchanging this dynamic character who could have a more dynamic romance subplot like her sisters get all the time. Maggie and Macy get dynamic romance subplots, and Mel hardly does. I think the most drama she had was with Nico and Jada, and those were great. I shipped them too. I shipped her and Jada for sure. And I thought that would have been such a cool plot line. And then Jada just leaves. And it was like, okay. And now we have perfect Ruby.
You never know. They might bring Jada back.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they'd bring Jada back to appease people who don't want her and Abby together, I guess. I don't know. Zay is saying conspiracy theory. What if they are making her perfect, Ruby, for Mel to make Mel's triangle with Abby have more tension? Or they just want Mel's love interest to last longer than 6 episodes? You might be right there too, Zay. I don't know what they're doing, because this is my thing too that has also confused me a little bit, is that they had Abigail confess her feelings for Mel. If you were just going to make it so that Mel and Ruby were going to be the perfect couple off to the side with the romance subplot, why introduce this dynamic of Abigail in a canon way? Not just us interpreting the flirting, but basically them letting us know that Abigail actually has real feelings for Mel. Why introduce that just to turn around and have this whole Ruby, I love you type stuff? I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know if they're
because that's how I was thinking too. You make, and then she knows that Abigail got feelings on, but now y'all just totally trying to be in this one episode. You putting them all together and having them to profess their love for each other and everything.
Yeah, I felt like it was. Did you feel like it was a lot compared to every other episode we got on them? I just felt I don't know where that was coming from.
The longest that
right? It's the longest we've had them as a dynamic, and I was just like, wow, this is a lot in one episode for them, which is what we had been wanting. But it also was so shoehorned in with this epic, I love you, I'm okay with you having a kid, and I'm here for whatever. I'm like, I feel like they rushed the I love yous in the last couple episodes, and now she's okay with just raising a family with Mel. I'm like, y'all don't even live together. Like, what's going on here, Ruby? You're willing to put your whole life on pause for this? Who is Ruby if not just a character to be perfect for Mel? And I don't think they do a service to representation when they do it that way either. Don't create a Mary Sue for your one lesbian character. You know what I mean? Give her a dynamic love storyline like you do with all the other characters on this show. Why is she getting a Mary Sue subplot? Lola's saying, I love Mel and Abby together as a couple. Natonia is saying, Abby is a creation of the new show writers. I am in the camp that the writers have developed Abby more than the main characters. the charm ones. The show writers have made Abby interesting. And see, that's the issue, right, Natoni? That's kind of the weird thing. It's like I am totally on board and agreeing with you that the show writers have gone the extra mile to make Abby such an interesting character. Do I think it's at the detriment of the charm ones? Maybe. But what we have here, though, is you got this character that's really interesting, that has this chemistry with one of your charm ones, Mel, and yet you're kind of shoehorning Mel with the other character who is just not developed at all. And I don't know why they're doing that. Why not give all that to Ruby? You know, like you could have done all that with Ruby and then put her and Mel together, but you did it with Abigail and then you had her confess her feelings for Mel. It just seems a little confused to me.
But I think Ruby's still going to have something about magic. Something still's going to, she's not quite, because Mel was like, she said, so do this mean that you're going to do magic? She said, yeah, but I think she's going to still have issues with that.
I don't know. I feel like they just made it so every time when I think there's going to be a little bit, I'm throwing conflict at them to give them some kind of plot line. And every time they have Ruby just kind of be like, I'm cool with this. I'm here for you. I love you. I'm okay. And I'm like, man, where's the conflict for this couple? What's going, like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, there's no dynamic here. They're just perfect already.
But still, she, like you said, Mel still didn't tell if she's in her life in the future.
Yeah. So the question is, and let us know. Yeah. So, lady, do you think Mel is keeping something from her?
I think so.
Okay, y'all. Let us know in the live chat and also the replay, particularly the replay. Do you think Mel is actively keeping something from Ruby? Let us know, because that would be some conflict. I'd love that. I'd be like, oh yes, drama for this couple, and how Ruby is going to respond to the dynamic that Mel kept something from her. That would be interesting to know.
Conflict right there.
Mercenary. Go ahead, Ma. No, finish that.
No, I said I think that's what she's doing.
Yeah. Mercenary, thanks for joining us in live chat, saying the writers are overcompensating with Mel and Ruby. I agree with you. I think there's a little I think it was a little heavy-handed for me. Natoni is saying complaints about Mel and Ruby is why I say the writing is not good. Jordan is saying, I love Jada, and I think they dressed dark Macy similar to her to mess with fans who've been wanting Jada to come back. Yeah, Jada was awesome, and her and Mel were hot together. I thought that was just a great night. I was like, this is a sexy couple. She's got a little darkness to her because Mel's the straight lace. We got to play by the rules. We got to do things, this is how things are done. And then she had Jada come into her life kind of being like, hey, maybe we do it differently. And it was such a great dynamic. And I'll even argue that's probably why I like Abigail and Mel together, because I feel like Abigail has similarities to Jada when it comes to the dynamic with Mel. And I just think that's the better kind of character for Mel's character when it comes to relationship. Someone who kind of challenges her as opposed to someone who just kind of goes along with everything that's going on with her life.
Yeah.
Natoni is saying Ruby is an afterthought. Maybe the writers are compensating because the actress who plays Abby is leaving the show. Yeah, I think we have to, that's the thing too. Do we know if Poppy, who plays Abigail, is for sure leaving, or is that mainly still just speculation? That's another thing too. Zay is saying Ruby went into witchness protection because of her demon stepdad who beat her mom up. So maybe that is the reason why Ruby is okay with everything. Her traumas have her accepting things and stuff. Maybe. And that's what's so interesting too. If she went to witchness protection and she's using her magic, is that not going to come back to be a problem? Will her evil stepdad come back?
Will he find them? Find her anyway.
Maybe. Maybe that could be something. Liliana is saying, considering how bullheaded Mel can be about protecting her loved ones, probably yes. Jackson is saying Ruby is neighbor Dan. What is that a reference to? Who's the neighbor Dan? Liliana is saying, yeah, Ab and Mel have those parallels to Mel and Jada. Yeah. And Blue Wolf is saying, yeah, Mel is keeping secrets from Ruby. So yeah, I think I don't know, y'all. I feel like they're being heavy-handed with it, which usually does not go well. When you're heavy-handed with a couple that you haven't built up, it's almost like the writers are rushing the emotional heaviness of their relationship to then maybe make it so there's some big dynamic if something happens to Ruby, you know? And I'm just like, do we have to do that? Does that have to be what happens too? I don't want anything bad to happen to Ruby, just like I didn't want anything bad to happen to Galvin. Even though I didn't ship him and Macy, I didn't want anything bad to happen to him, you know? And so, yeah, it's a little weird. Damie is saying, I don't care who these new showrunners bring or develop. They should not make them overshadow the charm ones. I'm on team. This show is for repping women of color, and no other character should change that. I agree with you, Damie. I definitely agree. I think that's why it's such a weird dynamic, because like I said, I feel like Abby is one of the most interesting characters, not the most interesting, but she's up there in terms of interest, even though Jordan is still my fave. And look, they developed Jordan very well, you know, and this is where I wonder if maybe there's a little bias there, because Jordan also has gotten developed very well. But you don't see as many people having an issue with Jordan being so developed and us learning so much more about Jordan but when we get more stuff about Abigail, that seems to be when people start having the issue. And I don't know if there's a double standard going on there a little bit. Blue Wolf saying Dan was part of Piper's triangle rental on with Leah. Oh, okay, cool. Damien saying, and I think Abby is getting too much attention for a show like that. Yeah.
Well, I don't think Abby get too much attention.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we know Data shows. I think we show that Data shows that Abigail and Jordan get the same amount of airtime. So I don't know. I guess it also depends what you do with the airtime too. But so far, Data is showing that in terms of minutes, Abigail doesn't get more showtime than the charm ones. They're still the main three that get the most time on screen. Abigail gets the same amount of time that Jordan does. So, could it be that people are just focusing on Abigail more because they don't like her as much? So, you know how it is when you don't like something, it just seems so much more prevalent.
Well, if I had to focus, it wouldn't be not disliking. It's just what she's gone through, and in a way, it's more fun to watch her do things.
Yeah. Natoni is saying because Jordan doesn't undercut the charm ones. Liliana is saying, I see this show as a show that can give representation for women of color and LGBTQ matters. I agree. I think it should. I mean, you don't have a character like Mel there if you're going to kind of shortchange her plots in comparison to her two sisters. And one could argue that they're shortchanging it by kind of shoehorning her with Ruby as opposed to allowing them to explore something with Abigail. Or heck, bring Jada back. As much as I love Abimel, I'd be so for Jada and Mel. Although I believe the actress is doing movies now who plays Jada. She's like in movies and stuff, so she's probably not trying to do this anymore. But I'd be so for that. If that was the case, I would. But, Jackson is saying, I don't mind Abby. I don't think she overshadows the charm ones. Liliana is saying, yeah, people seem okay with Melby being so lackluster, which isn't the best gay representation. Yeah. So, which is it, Yeah, so the question is, which is it? Natoni is saying, could you imagine the OG Charmed introducing a woman of color character who was more interesting or developed than the Halliwells? Yeah, but so that's the question, Natoni. Do you think Abigail, and let us know in the chat and also the replay, y'all, do y'all think Abigail is more developed than the Charmed ones? I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say she's more developed. I think Maggie, to me, is probably the most developed out of all three of them. Out of all the three charm ones, Maggie is probably the most developed because we've seen the most dynamic, different storylines with Maggie. I would say Maggie is light years ahead in terms of being more developed than Abigail. Macy's kind of a close second, even though I feel like this season her development has taken a bit of a back seat, which I have not liked at all because Macy was my favorite sister at one point. So Mel to me is probably, honestly, I think Mel is the most underdeveloped charmed one. And because they only give her two modes of acting sometimes. So I don't know. Jay Lee is saying Jordan was developed as a great supporting character. Abigail has always felt shoehorned into the plot and overshadowed the sisters. Liliana is saying, yep, the actors for Kat, Jada, and Nico have moved on to better roles. Honestly, good for them. Edward is saying, not more developed than the charm ones. Zay is saying, I don't think she's more developed. I get why people are annoyed with her because some of the storylines that Macy could have had went to Abby. But I do like Abby and want to see more from her. Liliana is saying, I think Abigail is as developed as Jordan. Harry having the most development outside of the sisters. You know. Yeah. So, yeah, I think... so I don't know. I think that's a debate, y'all. That's a very heated debate too. And I'm interested to see, because I've seen so many different aspects of this. I know I think it was the last live stream. I know some people got really upset with what I said regarding Abigail's dynamic with Macy and how Macy has been seemingly just so kind of one-sided towards Abigail. People have had some issues with that. So I know it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic. It is. But I like Abigail, y'all. I'm sorry. I like her. And I don't think she's there at the detriment of the charm ones. I think if anything, it's very clear they get way more screen time than Abigail and Jordan and Harry do. And so, if anything, I think the writers need to do better with the screen time that they give them.
Yeah, the plot, everything. They just need to make a vocal point on it. Where with the sisters, they need to bring some back of the OGs. A
little bit more of that dynamic. Although it was nice that the three of them were saying, "Mom, go ahead, finish."
I mean, I think they should bring. I mean. They haven't been fighting no demons more than this year. It's just been
the allergy and the perfecti. Well, the tomb people coming out.
But it wasn't that many. I mean, you know what? And then they still had a live. You saw them, conversating with the other people. All they are is always down in that basement or either at home.
Budget cuts. I don't know. Jaylee is saying it would be great if they used Abigail's development and gave it to Mel. With Macy being half demon, and since they don't talk about Abigail being Overlord anymore, her character is unnecessary to me. Actually, she is Overlord, and they brought it up a few times. Yeah. So yeah, she's still. I mean, the thing is, the demon world isn't what they're focusing on this year, which makes sense because they focused on it in the first 2 seasons. So they're giving us the ancient evils, which is actually dangerous to both demons and witches. So it would be more interesting, I think, to see how the demons are dealing with the fact that there's a plague and stuff in the future. Are demons and witches joining together to kind of defeat this evil that has taken over both of them? That might be quite interesting.
But didn't she explain that too when she was talking, when they was asking that question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
about the demons and everybody, like,
they seem like they came together. Yeah. Damie is saying her thoughts is Abby should only appear once every 10 episodes. I wouldn't want that, Damie. I like Abigail too much. I like when she's around. So, there's a lot, and we're not going to get through all of it today. Clearly, there's a lot of, there's a lot going on there. Blue Wolf is saying, now I would like to see Abigail dating Jada. That will be an interesting combination. I think that'd be too much fire. Oh my gosh, the two of them. I kind of would like that though. That'd be cool too. Zay is saying we need to see demons and witches doing stuff together. I agree with you.
Yes. Yeah. I really, I don't know. I think they got kind of off track with some of the magic and the different characters and everything. They just, I don't know.
I mean, I think they also were probably more limited because of the everything that was going on. They probably could only film in but so many places that have but so many extras and stuff on set. So I totally get that too. So, I mean, I don't know. Jordan saying it would be fun to see Ruby and Abigail put in a position where they would have to work together. That might be also interesting. So y'all, I I'm not necessarily on the fence about Abigail. I like her. I want her. At the moment, in terms of who's available for Mel, I think Abigail would be the better plot line for romance for Mel. I think with Ruby, the current way that they are writing her, it doesn't give Mel much to do, and they gave her a Mary Sue romance, and Mary Sue romances aren't fun to watch, and I think it's a disservice to the Mel character with that. But they kind of shortchanged Mel with a lot of this show because like I said, I do contend she still is the most underdeveloped out of the three charmed ones. So, yeah. And I know there's Abigail is a hot topic, but I think there are a lot of people that like her too. So, can't please everybody. And I think data also shows that she does not get more screen time than the charmed ones. She actually gets the same amount Jordan does. So, that's it. She just seems like she does because I think people focus on the fact that they don't want her there. So if you don't want someone there at all, them even popping in for a second is too much for us, right? Yeah. So overall, if you haven't already, please do give this video a like or like we always like likes, and also let us know your thoughts in the comment section, whether or not you are feeling where this season seems to be heading. And what do you think of Mel's plot line? Do you think it's proper representation, or do you think they're still kind of doing a disservice to this character? Let us know. I would love to hear it. And also have a great rest of y'all week, y'all. I think we may be moving the live streams to Tuesdays instead of Mondays, but I will let y'all know before Monday if we're going to start doing it on Tuesdays instead of Monday. A little bit of a scheduling change. But either way, we love it when you join us for these live streams. We love your passion. We love your dynamic. Even if we all don't agree, I love how you all keep it very respectful and polite, and that's always appreciated.
That's a good thing.
And that's what it's about. And so until next time, stay safe out there, y'all, and stay magical. Stay magical.
Yes. Think magical.